Yeah, so my wild card is Match Point from 2005, starring Scarlett Johansson, Jonathan Rhys-Meyers, Emily Mortimer, a whole bunch of other people. Quick logline on the movie. At a turning point in his life, a former tennis pro falls for an actress who happens to be dating his friend and soon-to-be brother-in-law. Yeah, so I put this movie Match Point as a wild card because although it's dealing with similar themes that Woody Allen has always dealt with of infidelity and human relationships and love, but there's something else going on here in this movie that almost doesn't make it feel like a Woody Allen movie. It has this, first of all, the movie is extremely sexy. And it has kind of this darker, very bleak look at life in general. It's obviously playing a lot with kind of class dynamics, having set in, Britain, where this is obviously, a core text in general. And there's like a propulsiveness to this movie, which is not something you typically feel in Woody Allen movies. Woody Allen movies are breezier, even when they get a little bit darker. There's jazz music, you sort of soak in the dialogue and what have you. This movie doesn't have any of that. This movie is sort of hard hitting. It feels like a younger man's movie, actually. I'm when I first watched this movie, I was like, I can't believe like somebody, I don't know how old he was when he made it, but the fact probably was 60 plus, very at the very least. Like it doesn't feel like an older person's movie at all to me. So that's why this is a wild card. And I think this movie is kind of amazing. It's dark. It's playing at this class dynamic war, especially with the lead character, Jonathan Rhys-Meyers, who is a tennis pro, who's in this kind of rich world, is very ambitious and wants to climb the ladder and very purposefully surrounds himself with the right kind of people. And, through that gets a job, marries the right person. But at the same time, there is something broken in him. And when he meets Scarlett Johansson's character, who's sort of similar to him in a way, who doesn't come from wealth and money, is also looking for something bigger and more in her life, but she's failing at it. And the two sort of form this bond, which is, I mean, they're cheating. I mean, he's definitely cheating, like bad, because he's married and is having a child and what have
Hmm.
you. And she's even more broken in some ways than he is because she's needy and what have you. And well, I guess he's more broken, I should say, given what he's doing. But they're both really broken characters who just are drawn to each other because they're from, I guess, similar class or similar dynamic. They have similar needs, and they think, I don't know what the plan was when they start to get together. I think maybe that's the point. There is no plan because
Hmm.
for him, the plan has always been to be rich and have this life. She has no plan whatsoever in life, but they somehow just can't quit each other. And that's sort of, the demise of everything. And then before I kind of come to the conclusion of the movie, which is an even darker ending, I want to invite you and see if you had seen this movie before and what did you think of it?
Yeah, I'd never seen this before. I'd heard, oh, I know you don't like Woody Allen, but watch it, watch it. I'm like, eh. But I thought it was amazing. Like, I think this is his best movie that I've seen so far. Like,
Mhm.
just it's a very well done thriller that
Yeah.
keeps you interested because there's twists and turns like in any kind of good thriller. But there is a much larger point that this movie is making about chance and luck and all these sorts of things, which again we'll get into, especially compared to his most recent movie. Actually, these are
Yeah.
brilliant pairings because they definitely talk back and forth with one another. But the thing that surprised me the most about this movie was, and again, correct me because you know a lot more about his filmography than I do, but the visual metaphors he was using around, the opening shot of the tennis ball going back and forth and hitting the net and bouncing off,
Yeah.
being something random, and then the same thing with the wedding ring, that happening. I'd never seen him use that type of symbolism that wasn't for comedic effect. Like it felt like a filmmaker, making a point visually, which is something that I tend to like when filmmakers do that. And I had not seen, I didn't think that was something that he liked to do. I mean, is that accurate or is it totally wrong? Again, I don't I haven't seen enough of his movies really to say, but this it was not used to comedic effect. It was like a very like hitting the point of the movie
Yeah.
right at you, which I thought was great. Amazing cinematography, and it removed all the things again that I bounced back off of, like no Woody Allen surrogate, no classic Woody Allen dialogue, not set in New York, thank God, which I guess the movie was originally supposed to be. And I was reading
Yeah.
into this a little bit of like, what happened here? It's like, oh, actually, it was for tax reasons. They went to UK. I don't think the movie would at all have been as good because of all the things you're mentioning, like the British class system.
I'm sure he rewrote it to make it fit
Maybe.
for that
Okay.
place. Yeah.
But the theme I think fits a lot more
Yep.
because it is set in the UK. So obviously, which is just luck and chance that the movie got moved over
Yeah.
to England, and I think it forced him to write something. I just was really liked this film. And yeah, just I will definitely be watching this again, and maybe we'll just climb up just outside of Woody Allen's filmography, just in terms of my own personal like kind of film ranking. I just really was surprised how good this actually was.
I had a
Happy to
feeling
finally
that
see it.
you would like this movie because it actually doesn't feel like a Woody Allen movie, even though the core themes are there.
Yes,
But
right,
there's no comedy and, that what you would expect, or even midlife crises or people
right.
being, mocked or made fun of. It's a pretty serious drama thriller movie,
Hmm.
but dealing with similar themes and showing, I guess, the darker side, in a funny and weird way, the rich people who he normally makes fun of, and he does that here too, but they're actually the nicest people in the movie.
Right. The parents of
The
the
parents,
rich
Emily
family. Yeah.
Mortimer is
Brian
totally
Cox. Yep.
fine, totally
Hmm.
nice. She's, there for the husband and taking care of him and wants him to do well. Although, if you read between the lines, yes, they're nice on the face, but they do want him to join their class. And
Yes.
all of
Right.
the stuff that's happening, even though she's very sweet, she wants him to get a better job because I don't know if she can be with him otherwise for
Right.
practical reasons, but also the way she's brought up and all the
Hmm.
things, which it's up to you how you look at it. People can fall for people from totally different backgrounds, but of course, there's a lot of practical stuff that comes with it that just
Hmm.
wouldn't work. So maybe that's a more, I guess, positive reading on that, but it goes all ways, all the ways. You can read it the way you want it to.
Hmm.
And then yeah, like the way the movie is shot and it's thrilling, I think you put it. I never thought of it as a thriller, but you're right. It's a thriller actually, because you're on the edge of your seat as to what's going to happen, and then the end, maybe we shouldn't spoil it, or I guess we can because it's an old movie. But I did when I first saw it, I didn't see it coming in, and even though I'd seen
Me
it,
neither.
I had forgotten it, and it makes a pretty dark proclamation on the world that yeah, bad people do bad things and they walk away.
Right.
That just happens
Right.
sometimes, which
Right.
is interesting to pair with Coup de Chance, the movie that we covered, where the bad person pays.
Right.
So these two movies, like you said, are definitely in dialogue with each other. There's similar class dimensions at play. The protagonist here is the antagonist in Coup de Chance,
Right.
and it's sort of inverted essentially. Like this is you're watching the movie from the point of view of the antagonist, who is the bad guy,
Hmm.
which again, you would not think Woody Allen would do a movie like that. Like this could be a Michael Mann movie actually, in a weird
Right.
way. It has
Hmm.
that kind of propulsiveness and sad, lonely guy who's trapped in his own mind. Like it has a lot of those tropes on its mind, but yeah, great performances as well. I think ScarJo is amazing in this movie as this broken person who's alluring, and even the it's in the writing. Like Jonathan Rhys says to her sometimes that why can't you be more confident in your film auditions like you are right now?
Right.
And it's so true. There's something about we've all encountered these people who are broken, but they have this thing that they attract other people to them, you know? But then in their real life, not much comes off of them. And you always wonder why. I remember people from high school and such who were kind of center of attraction, but then they peaked. Nothing
Hmm.
really happened with them. And so yeah, as usual, the movie has a lot on its mind. There's a thrilling narrative to it of, what will happen. But then, as always, it ends up saying a lot about just human relationships and how the world works sometimes.
Yeah, again, pairing it with his most recent film, I just wonder why they're both about luck and chance. And I think this movie, the message is luck and chance can happen, but there's no justice in it. It's literally pure randomness. The universe is random. Nothing really matters then, kind of like that's the nihilistic point of view. Versus in the most recent movie, there is the luck does give justice, where the person who deserves it gets the just desserts. In the end of that movie, I just wonder if that means something about his sort of change in his perspective. Maybe this was a darker time in his life that he was just sort of being frustrated and I don't know. You know him better than I do. Not personally, obviously, but in terms of his films, do you think that is interesting? Like that he clearly changed. I mean, it's a very diametrically opposed POV on what luck and chance is. I'm just kind of surprised that he made such a big turn. Was this the aberration match point, or do you think the second one is more of the aberration for him?
I think Coup de Chance is more of the aberration. That said, though, he's an older man now, you know. A lot has happened in his life in general, but also a lot has happened in his public life. And I mean, he can't make movies here.
Right,
And,
right.
you know, all of this has happened. So I think, and if he is guilty of anything, you're also living with that, or who knows, right? Like but old age would do that to you anyway, but he has like million other layers of things of just
Right.
living in this world. And, you know, so I think that would do a lot to someone. So there's that. And I think what I was saying earlier about Kurishant, like this is why the movie is not deep enough. Because I think for me, it would have been interesting that yes, the bad guy meets his end and there's justice, but not all is good
At the end of you're
because
talking about coup de chance, right?
Kurishant,
Because
yeah,
yeah, it's still not a happy
it's
ending,
not a happy ending,
but
but
there
the
is
movie
that
doesn't go
justice.
there.
Correct.
I
That is
right,
correct.
and I
Yeah.
wish the movie would have gone that okay, the girl, she's supposedly number one, she's lost. I mean, this is spoiler alert, but nobody cares. Nobody's gonna watch this movie, so it's fine. uh, the she's lost both the men,
Right.
and she loved them in different ways.
Hmm.
Her big source of income and everything. I mean, I guess she has a good job, but clearly she's living in a much different strata of society thanks to her husband. Like that's
Exactly.
gone.
Hmm.
And she's seen some pretty violent deaths in her life. Like this person doesn't walk away happy. This person is shattered and has lost love and has to rebuild. And I wish we'd seen a little bit of that consequence that yes, there's justice, but it's all not pretty.
Hmm.
And that would have, to me, made a more rounded movie, a more even Woody Allen movie for that matter. But yeah, it's very interesting how these two movies are in dialogue with each other. And it's almost like older Woody talking to slightly less older Woody.
Yeah, you're right. It's not like his first movie at all, but
No.
yeah, I wonder if he is sort of wanting to put his different spin on luck now that he is, close to 90 than he did when he
Yeah.
was in his 60s, whatever 70s, whenever he was
Yeah.
when this movie came out. Because they definitely, even the lighter tone we were talking about with Coup de Chance, with the score being a little more like easier, breezier, whereas this movie is definitely like a very heavy drama where there's
Oh yeah.
really no levity at all, and the movie doesn't let up once it starts getting serious. When you're like, oh, wow, hey, it's having an affair. Like, okay, where's this gonna go? And then it just keeps getting kind of like worse and worse for him until all of a sudden it doesn't because of something totally random. And at the end though, he's not like he still has the guilt. He's going to be miserable for the rest of his
Oh
life.
yeah.
Like, no question. This
No
movie
question.
has a bad ending for him. And then it also has, in my view, like just a nihilistic view on the world that everything is random and then, nothing matters because good or bad, it doesn't matter. So it's like a double whammy versus at least in Coup de Chance. You're like, okay, well, her life is shattered, but there is some sort of
At
justice,
least
whether
some
it's a god
justice.
or who
Right.
knows. Fate is good or in some way and
Yeah.
just. Maybe not good is not the right word, but just. And yeah, I just think that's fascinating that this is the movie, Coup de Chance that we started talking about with this episode, and I think ending on Match Point is just a very interesting look at an artist and how he's changed over time. Hi there, it's Alex. If you like the review and discussion Karan and I just had, make sure you subscribe to our channel, Movies That Shaped Us, to get full episodes. Every other Wednesday, Karan and I review a new release and then discuss 6 other movies made by that film's actor or director and how they shaped us. Subscribe right now or follow our podcast on Spotify or Apple Podcasts via the link in the description below. Hope you join us for the journey.